sick, some are not awake, some are not here yet. Hi. Yes, today we are combining the adult and the children because today is a very interesting story. And the story is about a man called Joshua. So, and I see that you have been working pretty hard, the three teams, and I thank you for your participation, for living up to the challenge of doing something later. But what we will do is, we'll do a bit of a prequel first. You know, in Star Wars, they have this thing called prequel, like the real show, but before the real show happens, building up to the real show. So, hanging there, all the actors, actresses, singers, don't panic, don't get so stressed. Just relax, and we'll go through the study because after all, this is Bible study, right? But we do it like a children class later, okay? So you're going to be acting. Now, we are going to come out from the wilderness, isn't it? Previously, when I was still there, we finished the dietary laws. We finished to the fact whether in the 21st century, as Christians in the 21st century, whether or not the laws that were given in Leviticus and Deuteronomy, are they still applicable to the modern day Christian? And we have finished up to the Jerusalem Council, and we didn't really finish some of the writings of Paul, but I hope that I can continue that sometime later. But I do want to come back into the wilderness and get out of the wilderness because we've been in the wilderness for a long time, right, since Leviticus. So, let's look at the map first, and let's recap what we have actually been studying for the... Do you know that this is the lesson number 18? Since we started our class sometime this year, middle of the year, second quarter of the year or something. This is our lesson 18 already. And we have all actually gone through, we spent quite a lot of time with Moses. So remember this is Ramses. What happened in Ramses? Yeah, Moses got these guys out from Egypt, right? And there's already a name of a city called Ramses. Ramses is supposedly to be the Pharaoh. And they have traveled down, they crossed the Red Sea somewhere here, and they have traveled down to Mount Sinai. What happened in Mount Sinai in Leviticus? This is all the book of Leviticus, where the law was given, where all the instructions were given. They were supposed to travel here 10 days, and then reach the promised land, which is here. Now what happened to them? They wandered for 40 years in the wilderness here. Okay, they wandered for 40 years. And what was the reason for them to be wandering in the wilderness?
They complained too much.
They complained too much, and also they didn't trust. In Numbers 13, when they sent the spies out to look for the promised land, what happened when they come back? When they came back?
After they reported, they got scared with the fact that the people in Canaan was more big and,
Correct. There was a lot of negative talk. There's a lot of negative talk in our world today, isn't it? On the online, everything, there's so much negative talk. But there's only two guys that came out with positive talk. Most of them came out with negative talk. And God was so angry, what did God do?
Punish.
God punished them by saying that generation is going to die, and only the little kids are going to go into the promised land. All us old guys will die. Only people like Sebastian and this little girl here and then the little girl here, all will go into the promised land, but the old ones will die after wandering for 40 years. So if you want to look, because we're going to jump into Joshua now. So there's Leviticus. What's the book after Leviticus?
Deuteronomy.
What's the book after Leviticus? Come on, Numbers, all right? Numbers will give a record of this, what's happening here. All the sins that they did, quite few. So they had to wander around, and this is the time where actually God did the census, counted. After that, he killed 15,000 and do another counting. The census, count again. That's why they had to spend so many years here in the wilderness. That is in the book of Numbers. We're not going to go through that, but you can go into it. It's quite interesting, the book of Numbers. Then after that, they started to move up here. Now this is Mount Hor, is where Aaron died. Aaron died. Aaron died earlier. Aaron is older than Moses. And then they started to move here. Then they were about to enter into the, where is the promised land? Where? You see this?
Canaan somewhere, yeah.
And you can see, actually, if the picture is clear, you can see the landscape is green here. You can see or not, a little bit. If you look at the real one in the slides, this is green. This is all desert and wilderness. So that is the promised land that God promised them. From Egypt, they had travel, and they're supposed to enter into the promised land. So here, when they're about to reach already, somewhere here, that is when the book of Deuteronomy starts. And what is the meaning of Deuteronomy?
Don't know. Two, wait, Dew means it's double.
Dew is double. Nomos is law. Nomos is law. So it's not a second law, but it's a recitation of the law. So if you look into the book of Deuteronomy, you will realize that it is a lot of nagging. Remember the law. Make sure that you practice the law. Love the Lord your God with all your heart. Keep His commandments. A lot of nagging in Deuteronomy. And this time, it is not God talking, This time it's who talking? Moses is talking. Remember, Moses was the one chosen by God. And that time when Moses chose God, God chose Moses, what did Moses tell God? I don't know how to speak. But now in the whole book of Deuteronomy, Moses is the one nagging and nagging and nagging and nagging and reminding the people that you are about to go into the promised land now. And even over here, there are a lot of bad guys. Please don't mix with them. Please don't even associate. Please don't practice like them. Please don't worship the idols that they are worshipping. Did Moses get to go in? Why?
He see only.
He see only. Why? He also disobeyed God. He struck the rock. Okay? Alinda, if you want to know where to find it, which you always say you would like to know, okay, where to find it? Actually, in Deuteronomy, there's a lot of it. Alright, God already told, hey, you are not going to enter the promised land. You are not going to enter the promised land. Moses dies here, Mount Nebo. So near, he can see the promised land. We were on Mount Nebo many years ago, during our trip to Israel. And if you look at, you go up to the Mount Nebo here, you can actually see all the green. Am I right, Pastor? Yeah, you can see the lush greenery there. You can actually look across, and actually the first city we actually visited was Jericho. Like there, can see. Okay. So here we are. Right, Moses died already. So after Moses died, who is the next leader?
Joshua assisted the king.
That's right. Joshua became the next leader. Now, is Joshua mentioned a lot in Bible history? Yes? Yes, but not really as much as Moses, Abraham. But Joshua is one of those young men, right? One young man that really was a hero. He was a hero. How old do you think Joshua was now that he's become the commander? Early 40s into 50s perhaps. Joshua was there on Mount Sinai with Moses. He was like Moses' assistant, sidekick. He in fact went to Mount Sinai with Moses. So that time maybe he was like a teenager. Maybe, yeah? So 40 years. So he's about in his 50s already. But that is considered new generation. All the old guys have died. All of us have died already. So it's only left the little ones who have grown up. And they are now going to take charge of the promised land. They're going to charge into the promised land. So Joshua chapter 1, if we can go back and do a prequel, Joshua chapter 1 has one of the best promises. And Joshua chapter 1 is where God commissions Joshua. Here you are coming after a great leader, you know. Moses was such a great leader. He can talk to God directly. Can you imagine if you were the leader that come after Moses? How will you feel? Happy, yes, very good. I like that spirit. Happy. Some of us will be so scared, right? Because, you know, like example, my husband will say, well, after the great leader Lim Kit Siang, who is the next leader? After the great leader Mahathir, who is the next leader? After any great leaders in the world? I won't say Trump.
Nelson Mandela.
Now after Nelson Mandela, there's really no other great leaders come up in South Africa. Here, so, but God is good. When God chose the young ones, these little ones, and you know, they are not so experienced, but they have gone through, they have worked very hard. God promised Joshua. And what did God promise Joshua? Can someone read this? This is such a wonderful promise. Uncle Theo.
Do not be. Have I not commanded you to be strong and courageous? Do not be frightened and do not be dismayed. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go.
If you were to hear this from God directly, how will you feel? Strengthened? Happy. You're already happy now, you are happier. Okay, because God of heaven is telling you, look, Sebastian, do not be afraid. Alright, have courage because I am beside you. I'm going to fight beside you. Wherever you go, I'm going to go with you. That is Joshua chapter 1. Where God promises Joshua, look, you are going to now lead the children into the promised land. It's a very amazing time for you. Do not be afraid. So what did Joshua do? Okay, he said, yeah, fine. I'm going to take up the job. And he sent 2 spies. Now this is another very, very interesting, controversial, whatever you can call it, story in the Bible. Joshua chapter 2 is about Rahab the prostitute. So Joshua sent 2 spies into Jericho to check out what is happening in Jericho. Now what do you think the Jericho people, how do you think they are feeling? Are they feeling alright, happy, or are they feeling scared?
Scared.
They are actually scared. Scared until they are trembling. Because they have heard the stories about the Israelites. They've heard about Egypt and all that. They have heard that. But the spies came and the spies, but they're still enemies. So 2 of them came in, they hid in whose house? Rahab. So this is a story of immorality, of lies. She lied, right? She lied to the soldiers about having the spies in her house. And about somewhat blackmail. Because she said, look, if I do this for you, you rescue my family. You don't kill my family when you come in and capture Jericho. Very interesting story. But I want to tell you, Rahab is one of the descendants of a very important person. Jesus Christ himself.
Great-grandmother.
Great-grandmother, is it? So later when we go into the genealogy of Jesus, you will realize that Rahab is in there. Great-grandmother. She was a prostitute, but she was in the city gates, like maybe the one of the high class one. Not the high class one, maybe the king's one. But what she did right was she protected God's people. In return, God blessed her and the family. God did not kill her family when they came in to attack Jericho. But she lied, you know. Did she lie?
Yes.
She lied. She did a plain lie. So is it against the commandment?
White lies.
Go figure it out. Okay, so that's...
Lies is good also.
Sometimes lie is good, huh? So chapter 2. Chapter 2, you want to go back and read it. I just want to breeze through because I want to build up to Jericho. So here it is, the spies went into Jericho and they come back and report what? They come back and report to Joshua that, look, these guys are scared of us. Don't worry, they are scared of us. We are going to capture already, don't worry already. Then, another miracle. How many of us only think there's one crossing of the Red Sea or one crossing of water? Actually, there's a second. Correct or not? there's another one. So everything that God did for Moses got repeated for Joshua. How great is our God, in the sense that He lifted up His leader. Correct or not? Moses that time was the Red Sea, a bit bigger lah. Red Sea I think probably a bit longer. This one is a crossing of what?
Jordan.
The River Jordan. The River Jordan is not so small like our Sungai here, It's also quite big, And there was it was the time when the waters are very, very strong coming through. And if we look at the map again, right? You look at the map again. Here they are. Nebo is where Moses died. So they are right here already. But there's a river running down. You see the river? There's a river running down, and Jericho is right here. Jericho is the first city they want to go and conquer. So they need to cross this river. They have no boats. Right? The river is quite strong, quite deep. And this is where God creates another miracle. But this time, it's not through the staff of Moses. This time it's through what? The Ark of the Covenant. And what is inside the Ark of the Covenant?
The tablet.
The law. Alright? And the law is going to go ahead of them with the priests. So they're going to come to the center of the river, and then the priests are going to stay there. If the water come rushing in, who die first? The priests die first. They always sacrifice the pastors first. So right in the center there, and all the people are supposed to cross the river because the waters are going to fall back. Amazing! Can you imagine that? Last night I just closed my eyes and I tried to imagine all these things happening. And I asked God to help me to really see what's happening. What really happened there? You try to do that. You try to imagine, that you are right there. And God is directing how this is going to be. It's amazing. It's not just a story. And so here we have it. The priests all stand in the center with the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant is going to go first. Because the presence of God, the law of God is going to go first and protect. It's so symbolic, And then the people go. And then when they reach the end, what happens? Then the priests will walk and the river will close up. Amazing, isn't it? Can you imagine if you're one of these people that are in there? Will you believe God? Will you? Yeah. Yes. Because the river parted. Imagine if we went to the drain, The drain, big drain. Where's a big drain in KL? Kuala. Sungai what? What's a big river? Sungai Klang. And then you try to part the Sungai Klang. Amazing. You can't believe it. So that's the chapter 3 is this. Then chapter 4, they actually, I don't have chapter 4, never mind. They actually commemorate the crossing by the 12 stones. Then you have chapter 5, which is just before the big event. Chapter 5, they circumcise all the men. Why? Because in the wilderness, there was no bottom. Then all the old guys at bottom died. So the new guys now kena bottom before going in. It's so symbolic because circumcision was so important to them at that time. What's the symbolism of circumcision now in our time? What do we do? Circumcision of the heart. So what do we do? What is one of the ceremonies that we do today?
The vows.
Right? Baptism. Baptism, isn't it? It's just a commitment, a consecration to God. So they had all the men circumcised on that day. And that was the day, chapter 5, when they stopped having to eat the same thing for 40 years. And what was that? Manna. Now they get to eat something else.
Food of...
Hallelujah. They get to eat other things because on that time, just before they crossed the river, manna stopped coming. Because why? They already have the provision, so they started to eat from the fields already, the wheat and the roasted wheat and the unleavened bread. So remember this, when did manna stop? It was actually just before they crossed into the promised land. And before they crossed into the promised land, Jesus appeared Right? I think we read this. It was so wonderful, you know. After I read this and I just put this into my imagination, chapter 5. And that was verse 13. Okay? Verse 13. Imagine that you are now going into battle already. Who is in Jericho? The Jerichoans. I don't know what they're called, but they're enemies. All of the land that's coming here is all enemies. Alright? The Jezebites, the Arbites, all the Kites and all that. Except for the Moabites and the Ammonites, they're not supposed to kill. Moabite, Ammonite, and the Edomites. Why are they? Relative. Edomite is what? Esau. Moabite, Ammonite? Lot's people, Lot's descendants. So cannot kill. But coming to here already, Philistines and all that, God said, wipe them all out. Before that happened, right? Verse 13. Can you read verse 13, Rose? Joshua 5:13.
Okay. When Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with a drawn sword in his hand.
Drawn sword, okay? That means ready for battle. It's like holding a gun in nowadays time. Okay, so sword. Then
Joshua approached him and asked, "Are you for us or for our enemies?"
did Joshua recognize him? No, he thought he's just a man. Okay, whether you're on that side or this side. And then what did he answer? This man.
"Neither," he replied. "I have now come as commander of the Lord's army."
I am the commander of the Lord's army. That means, who's the Lord's army?
Jesus.
Angels.
Yeah, the Lord's army. That means God's army. I am the commander of the Lord's army.
Then Joshua bowed with his face to the ground and in worship and asked him, "What does my Lord want to say to his servant?" The commander of the Lord's army said to Joshua, remove the sandals from your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy," as Joshua did that.
So who was that? Who appeared?
Jesus.
Jesus himself, the commander of the Lord's army. Because why? He said, look, take off your shoes, because you are standing on holy ground. Now remember, this kind of incident happened to who also?
Moses.
To Moses where?
Sinai.
Mount Sinai with the burning bush. Remember? Who are you, sir? Who are you? I am
Who I am.
who I am. Who was there?
Jesus.
Jesus himself. Here again, Jesus appeared but ready for battle. Does it sound very contradicting to you that Jesus come as a lamb that's going to be slain? Jesus come, forgive your enemies, do good to those who want to kill you, and suddenly you have Jesus with a sword. Different kind of sin, isn't it? Right, here you have Jesus. It's just like how when we carry the gun. Some people say, "Hey, why you carry gun?" Right? But sword cannot. What happened if Jesus come and carry a AK-47? Now. Because you see, our concept of Jesus, our concept of God is very New Testament, isn't it? Very New Testament. So we say, hey, the Old Testament God is a very different God. Is he a different God? Same Jesus. Same Jesus. It's exactly the same. But now what is he going to do? He's ready for battle for who?
His people.
For his people. But he says there, unfortunately in Joshua, he says, I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it because those people over there are so wicked, I need to kill them. You read Joshua. Not just because I want to protect you. Yeah, I know, but you guys are very stiff-necked and things like that. I just need to do it because these guys are too evil already. So God does not like evil, no. God is not going to have all evil people in heaven, unfortunately. There will be a difference between the righteous and the evil one. Right? Okay, however merciful he is. So here, encounter with God. That is it. Now, chapter 6. Wow. Joshua chapter 6, I tell you, is something that the children learn, isn't it? You learn about the Battle of Jericho. It's a story that we listen to and we know. how God win over the Jericho. But do you know the significance of this or not? What is the significance of this battle of Jericho? What is the meaning of it, battle of Jericho? God showing His authority, God showing His might, God showing His victory. You see, these Israelites have been in the wilderness for how long?
40 years.
40 years. If you were around for 40 years, doing the same thing, will you also lose hope? Yes. Correct or not? Some of us here, we are asking Jesus, why you never come back yet? Why you take so long, I've been waiting for how many years? You say you come back, you never come back. Same thing as that. This is the time when God is going to show His mighty power. Jesus is right there with the sword already, ready for battle. This is a different kind of Jesus. And this is the kind of Jesus that's going to happen at the end of time. You see, in the book of Revelation, Jesus is not going to come as the lion, the lamb that was slain. He's going to come as the King of Kings. And He's going to ride His horse. He's going to conquer back the world for us. Amen? Amen. If you think that the world is getting worse and worse and worse, and you know what is Jesus doing about it? Wait, you just look into the battle of Jericho. Because the battle of Jericho is the first battle that going into the promised land. Really, it's the first battle. It's one of the great wonders that depict the might of God. The mightiness, or I don't know the English word, how you describe this battle, because it's the first battle. After that, it's going to be fight all the way, kill all the way. It's no longer to be a merciful God, because God says when you go into Jericho, what happened? You got to kill everybody, including the children. Wicked or not? Evil or not?
He's going to the roots.
Don't spare anyone. Don't spare anyone. Okay? So here we are. We are in the battle already, and I like it to be done in a drama form, because that's why I chose this battle, because I feel this battle is so significant in our lives. Whenever we face battles, we need to understand that God is the victory. God is the victory. Okay? So I will leave the time now to Alex Production, is it? Our director.
Alexis.
And we are going to reenact the battle of Jericho, and then after that we're going to draw a lesson and close. So I will invite, I'll leave the floor. I cannot invite because I think you all are joining together. So pass the time over to the director, and we are going to witness the battle of Jericho.